sky just hit 20 million active users. The mass exodus from Twitter continues.
So I find this interesting.
I feel like you don't, and you're just saying you do because you couldn't come up with anything actually interesting to grift your supporters with today. But hey, Jeffrey, I'm always willing to be proven wrong, so why do you find this interesting?
Many of these people are leaving the X platform, and they're going to Blue Sky. So since they can't have their own echo chamber that they can control here, they're going to separate themselves and go create their own echo chamber that they can control.
Now, Jeff, I don't know where the hell you're from, but up here, we've got enough problems with Rust where we don't need your cargo ship level of irony added into the goddamn mix. Saltwater's been for a while now as a bunch of lonely douchebags who can't get a date standing around in a great big circle getting a vigorous arm workout, all while they just parrot to each other the same sweet nothing narratives that have been personally spoon-fed to them by the person who thought the world needed the fucking Cybertruck. Seriously, X is the gold standard for a narrative-pumping propaganda echo chamber. And that's an objective fact. Like the one time that Elon got so butthurt that a Joe Biden tweet got more traction than his own tweet, so he called a Twitter meeting at 2:30 in the fucking morning to tell them to rework the whole algorithm to give his account like 1,000 times more reach. What about all the numerous reporters he banned from the site for being critical of him? What about those times he colluded with other countries to ban their free speech by banning users and reporters from those countries from posting in those countries? And he did that at the request of their governments. Or when he took a bunch of user data and used that to custom tailor contradictory anti-Kamala ads to different groups of users. Twitter has been used to create an echo chamber and peddle propaganda in such an effective way that it's never been done before in the history of the world. Twitter has evolved beyond echo chamber and is just now a room filled with human excrement and people rolling around in their own shit, all while Elon protects them from anybody coming in to tell them how vile and disgusting they actually are.
These are the same people that say they're all about inclusion.
Hold up. I don't know where you got that idea, but let's clear that up, shall we? We are absolutely all about being inclusive to people based on their race or their gender identity or their disadvantaged economic backgrounds. Hell, we're about being inclusive to people's hobbies, pastimes, beliefs, ideals, even if we don't agree with them, as long as they just don't harm or negatively affect anybody else. Like this, for example. This is genuinely some of the worst dancing I've ever seen, and I'm personally embarrassed that you thought this was a good idea to post this online. But as bad as it is, you know, it's not negatively affecting anybody's life. In fact, the opposite. It's probably having a positive effect. I know it's made me feel better about my own personal lack of rhythm. I mean, just look us out here breaking stereotypes. Not personally the stereotype I would have went for breaking if I was in your shoes, but hey, I guess I get it. When you dedicate your entire life to making white supremacists feel better about their bigotry, making sure that you're a less supreme dancer is a good way to help reinforce that. Which brings me back to my point about tolerance and inclusion. When it comes to hatred, treason, oppression, bigotry, and selling out your own communities, we've got absolutely no interest in any form of tolerance. The only inclusion we're worried about is making sure that you're included with the hood and armband wearing slices of moldy Wonder Bread you've decided to identify with. We stopped giving a shit about including you or your thoughts or opinions the moment you started simping for fascists. I hope that cleared up what we meant about being for inclusion, since clearly you needed it spelled the fuck out.
Any of these people on the left are like a child who loses a basketball game, and then like let's say they're playing with a group of friends, right? And it's their ball. They're that kid who takes the ball home with them and pouts the whole way home and then leaves everybody else without a ball. All because they're mad that they lost.
I have never been more certain in my life that the only reason that you came up with that analogy just now is because that's the thing that you did as a child. I am supremely confident that the only reason you had any friends at all as a kid is because your mom or their parents made them hang out with you and be nice to you. And the reason I'm just so confident that this is nothing more than projection of those embarrassing moments you had as a child is because the analogy makes no fucking sense. Which means for you to try to shove that analogy in here, it's something that's in there in that deep part of your brain that you just think about randomly for no reason. It gives you the crippling cringe. Now you're just trying to cope with that by projecting that behavior onto other people. Seriously, how the fuck does this analogy work? Who's taking the basketball with them when they leave Twitter? Them leaving doesn't stop Twitter from existing. You can still go play your game where you get your vigorous arm workout every day. Or was Twitter supposed to be the ball? I don't know. This analogy's fucking stupid. Either way, they didn't take Twitter away from you. They didn't take anything that stops you from using Twitter, which is why the analogy makes no sense and why I am so confident that this was just a personal recount of a story from your childhood. But you know what your analogy would work for? When you lose the game, like say an election, and then you cry about how the game was rigged and you cry about losing it, and then you try to take the ball by trying to, you know, overthrow the government. That way nobody can play democracy anymore unless they let you win. See, that analogy about the embarrassing shit you did as a kid works perfectly well for the embarrassing shit you're still doing as an adult.
Again, it's wild. Since they don't control the narrative, they can't control what is said on X, they want to go get on a platform where they can control the narrative. They want to be on a platform where they have the advantage, where they can control the narrative.
Wait, they want to be on a platform where they can do what again?
Control the narrative.
Oh, right, that's it. Maybe if you would have said it 4 more times in the same fucking sentence, I would have caught on. But yeah, you're right. It's so messed up how they're leaving a platform where one dude controls the entire narrative because, you know, they want to have some control over their narrative. I'm sure that makes sense in some alternate universe.
And it's just so crazy again because they talk about being inclusive, but when the platform isn't controlled the way they want it controlled, They leave and then go create their own echo chamber.
Jesus fuck. You know you can go join that other platform, right? It's not like it's a liberal only, no conservative sellouts allowed platform. Like, you can go make an account and post your dumb shit there too. That would just involve you leaving your little safe space that echoes all of your bullshit back to you to do that. See, nobody's controlling a narrative over there, stopping you from coming and trying to spread whatever bullshit narrative you want to spread as well. And that's not the reason anybody left. They left because Twitter just genuinely sucks. Like, as a platform in general, it is just objectively trash. Twitter's been hemorrhaging users for years, and it's been bad for a long time. It's only gotten worse. It's not like this is new. And then millions more just finally decided to pull the trigger on leaving the shitty platform when the guy who owns it turned it into his own personal propaganda machine, donated hundreds of millions of dollars to McNugget Muammar, and thought that this was an acceptable name for a fucking child. It's sort of like when you said you were going to stop drinking Starbucks because their Christmas cups weren't Christmassy enough, or stopped watching football because football man no stand for flag. All it is just people deciding to stop supporting something that doesn't fit with their ideals. The only difference is this just isn't fucking stupid like the time you guys got offended and boycotted Target because they sold rainbow t-shirts. Y'all find something to be offended about and boycott every other fucking Tuesday, so this shouldn't be that complicated of a concept for you.
And they wonder why they're so detached from reality.
This is why we're detached from reality. The people who think that every classroom has a litter box, they're eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio, and that Democrats are controlling hurricanes like it's a meteorological game of battle bots, is telling us that we are disconnected from reality. Y'all thought Hillary Clinton was drinking children's blood in a pizzeria basement to be immortal, and we are disconnected from reality. Yeah, sure, you know what, whatever, fine. Nothing fucking matters anymore anyway. So yeah, we're the ones. We are the ones disconnected from reality. We'll go with that.
Many of them don't realize they're detached from reality because they're consistently in these echo chambers.
And there it comes back, full fucking circle. The Gadsden snake is officially chewing on its own fucking tail. But here's the thing, I actually believe you. You're not detached from reality, Jeffrey. You know goddamn well what you're doing. And you are an expert on echo chambers because you're the one standing at the mouth of the cave yelling hello for it to be echoed back to all the Neanderthals that follow you. See, and a lot of the people in those echo chambers, they don't know. Their ignorance may be willful, but it's still ignorance. But you do know, and you make a conscious decision to exploit them and their willful ignorance. And I'd almost respect the grift if it didn't involve you selling out all of us and your own community in the process. And because you know and you still choose to do it anyway, that makes you worse than all of those willfully ignorant motherfuckers out there. And whether your pick-me energy is just for the grift or because you're still that little kid who ran home with the basketball and you desperately need the attention, it doesn't really matter because they're never going to pick you. You see, all you are is a tool, literally and figuratively. You're just a tool to help them justify their preconceived notions and help them tell themselves that they aren't the bigoted assholes that they actually are. Once they've changed the legislation and the culture and get to a point where they don't need that justification anymore, they'll leave you out in the field to rust just like every other outdated tool that's outlived its purpose. And your poetic karma would be almost comedic if it didn't involve you having to hurt so many goddamn people to get there.